Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to tonight's Q&A presented by Sportskeeda Wrestling, shown exclusively right here on Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel. Thank you all for joining us, and while you're at it, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel to gain access to exclusive news and information in the world and happenings of pro wrestling. And as always, joining us here, we have a surprise today. Bill Apter was about to join, and I guess a transformer blew in his house. He has no power right now. So we are joined by two of wrestling's insiders. Let's welcome Joe and TC from WrestleVotes Radio. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Joe. It is, it's something the way the world works here. TC just happened to be at the WrestleVotes studios as we were going live, and he stepped in as the ultimate replacement here. So, TC, welcome into this Q&A session hosted by the wonderful What a Day, Joe Lowry.
Well, it's an honor and privilege to be here with everybody here tonight. I am definitely no Bill Apter by any means, but it's a honor to be here in his absence. I hope everything at Chateau Apter is okay, really, and there's no fires or anything going on his streaming room, whatever he wants to call it. So I'm happy to be here alongside you guys. I'm a big fan of your program. I listen each and every week, and I'm ready to take on all the questions from our listeners one at a time.
Yeah, we got a few of them. And, by the way, I want to thank Joe and Bill for filling in last week. I know I was in the midst of it was kind of a tale of two paths. Joe and Bill, you guys were heading west. I was heading back east to New England, moved back to New Hampshire. So I'm finally set up in the new digs and all that stuff. And go figure, Bill Apter is not with us this week. But, oh, well, we will make do with all that. Real quickly, guys, WrestleMania, you guys still hung over from WrestleMania?
Yeah, Las Vegas was alive, Joe. I'll tell you that. But no, I'm feeling good. I know TC was back here. He's feeling a little stiffer than I am, actually. So, yeah.
Well, I stayed home for WrestleMania. I had a nice little watch party with a few friends of mine.
There you go.
And I know they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and hopefully that's not the case with Bill Apter this week.
No kidding. Yeah, he's exhausted. It's been a long week all around. I mean, for myself, not just moving and driving 36 hours and so forth, but the fact that you guys were running and gunning when you got there, because, Joe, you guys went on what, Thursday you guys were out there?
Yeah, we were there for a very long weekend, Joe, and
that's a long time.
It was enjoyable, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm hearing more about the roast of WrestleMania than I am about the actual main event matches at WrestleMania at this point. This is crazy, but we got a lot of questions coming in. Right now, let me just pull some of them up here. I do believe these will be all geared towards WrestleMania and what could have, would have, should have done. But we get some good ones here, so we'll kick it off. Joe, TC, you guys ready?
Yes, sir. Let's rock and roll.
Shoot 'em.
All right, here we go. Matt McMillan's chiming in, and he wants to know, do we expect Worlds Collide to be a yearly event? And could it feature more promotions like TNA, Noah, Marigold, and Bloodsport? What do you think?
Well, Joe, first off, I want to say I was stunned when that announcement came that they bought AAA. TC, I know you were too. And then the Worlds Collide show should be excellent. As far as a yearly thing, I'd say if the first one coming up in June is a success, why not? TC, do you think this could be a yearly thing?
Well, I think now absolutely, knowing that WWE is in full possession of AAA now, it has to utilize that, I think, to their fullest advantage. So I would definitely imagine having a Worlds Collide type of event every single year. We'll see how things evolve between now, no pun intended, between now and next year. But WWE's been a lot of acquiring of smaller organizations, definitely a business plan that's been laid out for a long time. We were surprised at the announcement of that acquisition from AAA. We heard that people said that this has been in the works for a long time. When we got the first scoop that there was going to be a Worlds Collide happening, there was nothing tied to that. It was just really, hey, they're going to be working together. And lo and behold, about an hour or 2 hours later, Triple H is up on the dais there with all the Lucha Libre stars from AAA. So I would definitely imagine that they have plans long-term for a collaboration and a great way to showcase what AAA does to the world through the avenues of WWE.
It would also be interesting to see what they do with Alberto Del Rio with that. So I know there's a lot of stuff circulating around that, but who knows? Onward and upward. And Matt McMillan has a follow-up question. This one is geared towards the arrival of Joe Hendry, with him having a match at WrestleMania during Night 2 obviously showing up against Randy Orton. Then he showed up on NXT this past Tuesday as a contracted TNA talent Do you think Henry's contract will get bought out by the WWE?
I do. I'd be surprised if he was a TNA contracted talent, much throughout the year of 2025. I'd imagine he'll be a main stay soon. They're already doing his merch. They put him in the spot with Randy, means that they like him enough. So, I think he becomes a WWE superstar, in quotes, before long.
All right.
Yeah, the level of trust that they had with Joe Hendry is obvious on Sunday when he came out there for the match with Randy Orton. Listen, everything I've heard has been great things from Joe Hendry. He's very professional backstage, very welcoming with everybody that he meets, and kind of understands his role as an outsider, but yet one of the boys at the same time. And he was on one of the podcasts, I think it was with Hariel Hawani earlier this week.
Sure.
He said that he knew for an entire week that he was the one going to be facing Randy Orton, and for nothing to leak out, I think is a testament to him. I think that's an early test where you say, hey, we're going to give you this information early, let you know you're going to be, kind of for your own favor. We're going to give you time to prepare. But at the same time, we hear Triple H kind of talking about how things leak out and it ruins the surprise in an interview with Peter Rosenberg. The fact that nothing leaked out, that it was going to be Joe Hendry, I think is a testament to him and not letting anybody know, friends, family, and loose lips sink ships. I think that WWE is very happy with the fact that it came off the way it did and there was nothing online that he was going to be the potential opponent for Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
So, Joe and TC, do I get the feeling that you both believe in Joe Hendry?
TC, I'll give you that.
Listen, as a fan, I like when the crowd kind of takes over and adopts somebody under their wing. I love the way that kind of becomes an organic, natural thing that happens within the WWE universe. For me, I haven't seen enough of Joe Hendry to really believe in him being potential world heavyweight champion. Could I see him being a United States champion in WWE? Absolutely. Sure. But I honestly have to watch a lot more of his work. I think what he's doing right now is great for his career and getting himself over. It's once that kind of honeymoon phase ends, what do you do next? We kind of have seen that with LA Knight, where he was off to a red hot start, and he's been able to maintain that momentum that he had early on. Can Joe Hendry do the same thing once he becomes, a full-time regular in WWE lexicon? We'll have to wait and see.
We shall wait and see. And I think Bill Apter is actually trying to chime in here.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this. Let me switch some stuff around here. Folks, the marvel of technology, live, everything, Bill Apter's house exploding, then coming back to life. We get Joe and TC from WrestleVotes. Hopefully they edit some of that stuff out, but thank you all for being patient as we resume our Q&A session here. Joe, TC, you guys still with us?
Ready to rock?
I'm here. By the way, you mentioned that we are with you. We are with you and glad to be back from lost wages. No, but I lost $33 on the slots, and I walked away. That was it.
Could have been worse. Could have bought a ticket to WrestleMania there, Bill.
Ooh. By the way, I did get together with Joey WrestleVotes. I know what he looks like now. And now I don't want to be nasty because you're a great guy, but now I know why you hide your face.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's all it needed was us to meet, and he figured it out.
I didn't know that.
Unbelievable. So, back from – I was just telling Bill, I was telling them, you guys were heading west. I was heading back east.
That's right.
Good to be back.
Glad you're back in the United States, Joe.
Yep. First thing I did was hit up for Chinese food, so it was great. All right. All right. Okay, moving on here. We're about a couple of questions in. This one comes from Sean Garner. Joe, I'll ask you first. Could Cardi B get physically involved at this year's SummerSlam?
I guess if she wanted to, if they're going to pay her enough to cover insurances and stuff, but I wouldn't expect that, no.
What a day. We're talking about in the wrestling ring, correct?
I do believe Sean Garner's question is, could Cardi B get physically involved at SummerSlam? So I'm assuming a bump of some sorts or something.
I don't see it. I think they're going to keep her just as the host. I wouldn't expect her to be wrestling in any kind of capacity.
Okay. Bill, what do you think?
No, please. I had enough with Travis Scott, number one.
Right.
Okay? No. And I'm not saying that because he's a rapper or anything. He's just AEW has now got a rapper coming on their show.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what is this? Is this now a new phase of the wrestling business that if you're a hot rapper, you get a position here? You know, we didn't talk when I was on here about the Travis Scott thing, and I didn't even know who he was originally until he came out with The Rock, and then I read up on him. But there is a section of the public, and the older people especially, that don't know who the guy was, number one. And number two, I just didn't feel he belonged, and they didn't need any celebrity involvement in the main event, in my opinion.
Sure. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, don't disagree at all. He was in there because he's a celebrity, not because he advanced the storyline, in my opinion. So we can't go back and undo it. So we have to live with what they did.
Well, wait a minute. See, they didn't even they didn't even say he was going to be there. So in terms of selling more tickets because he was going to be on the show, that wasn't the reason there, because they never said ahead of time that rapper Travis Scott was going to be there.
Yeah, I don't. You know, not for nothing, I think this year's WrestleMania, for some crazy reason, last year was off the charts and they raised the bar so high. I don't know if they met the expectations on both nights. I mean, I understand when you're there, it's different and all that stuff. But on the television production side of it, it was long, it was drawn out, and sometimes it was painful.
No, I'm just B is itching about Travis Scott thing.
It's part of the crossover too. They want to cross over. They got multimedia personalities now.
Yeah, I know.
Going.
Well,
so
here's the thing for me, guys. You know, talking about advertising or not, obviously it was implied all weekend that we would get some sort of Travis Scott involvement. Sure. Lots of merchandise from him. The theme song was from him, which I think kind of lends itself to the same implication that many fans had that The Rock would be there as well. I know that there's an image going around of finally The Rock has come back to Las Vegas. So I think in a lot of people's minds, the non-advertising of The Rock and Travis Scott was that they would get them one way or another, especially the way that they were featured at the Elimination Chamber and the storyline that they were intertwined with John Cena. I think that's where a lot of fans find themselves kind of feeling let down after the fact that The Rock was not there and all we got was Travis Scott, who seemed to be kind of a sidekick to The Rock from the get-go.
All we got was Travis Scott. I like that. Well said, Joe.
All we got is Scott. All right, moving on. Lucky Charms got a good question here. Any discussion in the WWE about a new women's tag team title design? They've had those titles since its inception, and the other tag titles have been updated. I think Liv and Raquel are the perfect team to introduce new titles. After all, they are record-breaking 4-time champions and all that. Bill, what do you think? Time for new tag team titles, women's tag team title?
First of all, Lucky Charms, I feel my heart goes out to you that they may take food coloring out of you. So hopefully not. I don't know the answer to that, Joe, about the tag team belts. If they want to freshen things up, sure, it's no big deal.
Joe, you guys, what do you think?
No, nothing I've heard. I think the titles look fine. So let's keep them like they are for now.
Yeah.
I want to see tricks remain colorful. Lucky Charm.
All right, Jeremy's chiming in here. He wants everyone to put themselves in a WWE booking headspace for a minute. And he wants someone to explain to him why booking Lyra versus Becky, Bayley versus Roxanne, and Alexa and Nikki versus Liv and Raquel wouldn't have been the better course of action. Okay, he's really mumbling here. Would have achieved a better result and not alienated a portion of the fan base. I think the actual question here is Bayley and Roxanne and Alexa and Nikki. I think he wanted to put a tag team turmoil match together. Would that have made more sense, guys? Joe, TC?
I'm totally confused, by the way, of the question. I'm not.
I think why booking. He wants you to be creative, and I think the bottom line here is Lyra and Becky versus Bayley and Roxanne versus Alexa and Nikki and Liv and Raquel. I think he wanted a tag team turmoil match.
Well, it seems like to me that Becky Lynch was calling some shots on how her return was going to go here. Obviously, right. Becky Lynch was ready to rock and roll for the better part of 2025, and for whatever reason, that was not put on television. And from everything I've heard, it seems to be a creative disagreement, if you will, for how she was originally going to return. And I think she wanted to be heel, and the right way for her to do it was to get on the WrestleMania card as a tag team partner with Lila Valkyria, have those titles for one night, and then use Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania to turn on her. And I think that was at the cost of having Bayley on the show. And obviously a lot of people wanted to see Alexa Bliss as well. But for whatever reason, I think there's a lot of powers that be struggling with how their creative gets handled on television. And I think Becky Lynch is a good example of one of them.
Yeah. Joe?
No. Yeah, I agree. It is what it is. We can't change the card. So sorry, but
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wasn't that Joe just talking?
We got TC alongside Joey Votes here today from WrestleVotes Radio.
I didn't know that. I was going to say that's TC, who I also met in Las Vegas. Okay, I didn't know that. And I kept saying your voice sounds, in my head, your voice sounds different. I don't.
Yeah, we brought a replacement in, Bill, while you were struggling with the lights for a second.
I didn't realize that. Let me put on my booking hat.
I think the lights are on and nobody's home. What the hell's going on here? This is the wildest.
I'm still exhausted from this trip. I still got jet lag and.
All right, I'm gonna exhaust the hell out of you with this next question because Jeremy's got another one. All right, so we heard a theory today that the John Cena heel turn was A, supposed to happen at WrestleMania, and B, originally not supposed to involve The Rock. That Cena and Cody would have been a face versus face match. Cena's odd promos would not have taken place, and the switch would have happened at Mania, with the motivation being Cena would do anything to get title number 17. Now, this theory seems to make everything that didn't make sense about the entire build actually make sense. Now we get to the question. Any insight on if The Rock insisting on clumsily injecting himself, is this the reasoning behind the negative response? Bill, you want to try hitting that one up?
No.
The Rock not being there, did that ruin it for everybody?
No. I think with The Rock not being there, of course, people wondered why he wasn't there. I do know that he, and I've mentioned this on our other broadcast, he's doing a movie in Europe with being produced by Martin Scorsese, the movie legend producer. However, they set this out the way they wanted it to happen. I don't, when you're in the writer's room, the people are like we used to do with the magazines. People are throwing around different headlines and different storylines, and they settled on this one, and they thought this would be, with The Rock turning Cena heel on TV that night, that was the way to go, and they followed it up with the way they thought it should go. That's bottom line on this.
Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they got what they wanted out of it. Again, even Rock said in the McAfee interview that the finish wasn't as exciting as he had hoped and others had hoped. So, but I think they're at the point in the story where they want to be at. So I don't know if there's any heat between Rock and Hunter and the creative team, and if that played a part in what went down. But I think they got exactly what they wanted on Sunday.
I don't think there's any heat there. Here's what I think, and I'm going to bring them up again. I think that Travis Scott, everything was going like boom, 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 but it was all in rhythm until Travis Scott came in. I thought the referee bump, he was down longer than I been booking. I think the referee was down longer because of the Travis Scott thing. I think had the Travis Scott thing not happened, the referee wouldn't have been laying down that long, and Cena still would have been able to use the belt. But I think the rhythm was broken when Travis Scott, who's not a professional in this business, when he interfered, the rhythm was interrupted. That's how I feel.
And according to Travis Scott, he's full-time now with WWE. Oh, we'll see about that. All right, Michael's chiming in here. Which star should we expect to move up to the main card world title scene after WrestleMania? Good question. This is usually the time of year, right before the draft. Some people get the call-ups and so forth. Joe, TC, I'll let you guys go first on this. Any word going around and who's coming up, or staying put, or either or?
Yeah, I would say Drew McIntyre probably makes a leap.
Exactly what I was going to say. Exactly.
Okay. So Drew McIntyre is the front runner for which title?
Well, he's on SmackDown, so I guess it would be, maybe the world title if they do a draft, because Orton, who's a SmackDown guy, is going after Cena now. So they could flip-flop. But I'd say Drew's in that main event picture before long, yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Never get tired of seeing Drew McIntyre. Every time it goes down a little bit in value, he brings it right back up. My question is, what happens to Damian Priest now? He seems kind of like in the middle, kind of like a little lost in terms of program. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with him at this point.
Good question. Good question.
Well, obviously, we saw Braun Breaker's plans for his career after losing the Intercontinental Championship. Could LA Knight, on the other side, be a guy who dropped the United States Championship, now see his chance to go for one of the world titles? I can kind of see that in his future. I don't know if this is the right point in time right away, given that Jay Uso is a face and John Cena is obviously going to be occupied with Randy Orton here. But I would keep an eye on LA Knight. I think that they're really happy with his work over the last year plus. That would be a guy I like to see elevate his game and go for another world title shot.
I will tell you one thing that we don't have on the docket here is that WWE announced that great deal with AAA.
Yeah, we mentioned that at the beginning.
But yet both AAA guys didn't win.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's true, Bill.
Joe and WrestleVotes. What do you two think about that?
I think that's interesting. The way, especially Ray Phoenix lost. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to put too much stock into the men buying the company and then have to change their creative plans that they've had for months and months. So I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything to that, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I don't think
this reminds me.
Trying to bury guys here. I don't think that's going to be the thing at all. But I think there's going to be a platform for the AAA guys to be able to shine, where it's not, right at WrestleMania, the day that they're announcing these kind of things. I think you just got to give it a little bit of time to breathe, and eventually you'll see that sort of start to present itself in a better fashion for some of these Lucha Libre wrestlers.
I hope so, because what bothers me is that when they took over WCW, none of the WCW guys were able to win over the current WWE guys.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Different leadership too, though. Don't forget. So we'll see what happens. All right, got a lot of questions to get to here, man. They're coming in here. Michael also wants to know any cities being considered right now to host WrestleMania 43 in 2027. Next year, New Orleans. Do we know where it's going the following year? Anybody?
No, I don't. I think it would happen in Europe. That's where I think they'll be going with it.
There's been a standing rumor of Nashville.
Really?
That's dependent on their new stadium that's currently being built for the Titans.
Okay.
That's from Nashville local media about a year or so ago. So if it can work, I think that's where WWE will be for 43.
And I'll tell you one place it won't be. It will not be Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll have to wait to see where that one comes down the line. But I know a lot of people out there have been talking about where Indianapolis will be. They obviously have gotten a Royal Rumble. They're due for a WrestleMania. And I don't think next year Indianapolis is going to be the host for that city.
You know what scares me about this with Nashville? Oh, my God. Is that Alan Jackson running into the ring?
Yeah.
No, it's Jelly Roll. YNW4X wants to know, people are they love these questions. What are the SummerSlam main events going to be? Bill, you want to try that one already?
Well, it should to me be Cena and Cody in a hot rematch.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Joe, TC, you guys agree with that?
I'd expect that. I expect Roman and Punk probably. So those look to be the two big ones, I'd imagine.
Okay. All right.
The rumors around, by the way, that Roman and Punk will be teaming against Braun Breaker and
Seth Rollins.
Yes, yeah, that's the rumor that I'm hearing.
Backlash, or
yeah, that's the rumor I'm hearing.
Only 3 weeks to build that one up, so they already got the money for that. All right, another question here. Wine4X, is the plan for Roman to take Seth's new group down and finally defeat him in the end? That's a good segue right there. Joe, TC, what do you guys think? You think Roman's going to finally get the best of Seth in some way?
It depends what you consider the end. This is, to me, going to be a long-term story here, and I would not expect to see Seth, and especially being led by Paul Heyman, being defeated, especially now that you have Braun Breaker on his side here. I think this is going to be a long-term deal here. Eventually, maybe WrestleMania next year, as Paul Heyman eloquently alluded to, we're going to take this all the way to WrestleMania 42.
Yeah.
So I would expect them to remain strong throughout the year. Will they have a couple losses here and there? I think they will. But I would expect them to be having the upper hand heading into WrestleMania next year at this time.
You know what? I think that Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman guiding him, so to say, is a brilliant move. It's going to take Braun Breaker up another level, because the only thing Braun Breaker lacks to me is the interview skills. He's for a guy that's that killer. He's got like that Goldberg killer thing, but Goldberg's voice was like this. Braun Breaker's voice is very polite, so to say. But I think putting him together with Paul Heyman is a brilliant move, because Heyman talking with and for him is going to improve his character.
Yeah, I think the Seth, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Heyman angle, that whole thing, I think that's going to carry the company for the next.
Oh yeah.
All the way. It's like the Bloodline was a couple of years ago. I think we're going to get long term with this. If we already have long term with Seth and Roman, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Todd wants to know your opinion. Which was the best match of WrestleMania? Joe, I'll let you get that one first.
That's a good question. I think both triple threats were great, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Roman and Seth and Punk. Pretty exciting to be there live. I'm not sure how it turned out on TV. I haven't rewatched it yet, but that'll be my answer.
All right. TC?
For me, it's got to be Stone Cold versus the ATV. He was really having a hard time getting over with that one there, and I think he did the job to the ATV, so I'm going to go Stone Cold ATV.
That's the bottom line, son.
Bill, what do you think? Best match of the weekend?
I'm going to say this may surprise a lot of people, but that opening match, the first night with the girls' triple threat, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
it was a good match.
The Io Sky match, but it's hard to pick one from the whole thing. But if I was forced to do that, I would also go with the Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Rollins match, because you had three total professionals that knew ad lib just what to do and go to the finish. They just it was like it was happening for real.
Right. Although I was watching on an iPhone because we had no internet activity around here where we just moved in, I will say my oh my God popped out of my chair moment was Dominic Mysterio winning the Intercontinental title.
Oh yeah.
When he first got that pop, when he almost 619 Finn Balor, I said to myself, if he wasn't supposed to win the match there, I bet you they called an audible, and Triple H says this crowd's going to be lit when Dominic wins the title.
And they were.
Because I didn't see it. I didn't see Dominic winning that match. I thought Penta or maybe
I didn't either.
I didn't see it, but that to me that's WrestleMania. That oh my God, like last year it was Drew McIntyre winning the title, and then CM Punk getting him screwed over by Money in the Bank Damian Priest. That was an oh my God moment. We didn't have a lot of the oh my God moments, but the Dominic Mysterio, that was a good moment. That was a really
he's trying to maintain his heel-ness, and the fans don't want him to be a heel. And I'm just wondering somewhere down the line if he and Daddy will come back together again.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Joe and Bill, let me throw this one out for you because it kind of missed the mark for me.
Okay.
Following WrestleMania on Raw, there was no real strife between Dom and Finn Balor, which I thought was interesting. Did that stand out to you guys at all? I don't know if Bill, I don't know if you were traveling and saw Raw or not, but
I did.
It just seemed to me like Finn was very happy for Dom, and I was surprised to see that. I thought we would right away get strife between the Judgment Day, and that was not the case.
Yeah. I was very surprised as well, because if they want to keep that going where they're irritated, where Finn is really irritated with him, they're going to do it very slowly.
Yeah, and I also saw, I think with the JD McDonough reunion, that kind of put the band back together, so to speak. Not saying that the turn's going to happen down the line, I'm sure, with Finn Balor, because it seems like when he's about to inch closer, Liv injects herself and says, well, look what happened. We won the title. The title's here, blah, blah, blah. And that kind of takes away from it. So
that was the pre-deal, though, because WrestleMania, that's what they talked about. No matter who wins the title, it's part of the Judgment Day.
But I think we got long-term storytelling here, because the first thing that Dominic got cheered for was he almost 619 Finn Balor.
Yes.
And there it is, shots fired. So we've played that game many a time. So Speaking of Monday Night Raw, they Todd J, aka the Jake Man, wants to know: did you guys feel like Sami was about to backstab Jay at any moment on Raw? Because Jay definitely looked like he was nervous, and he read somewhere that Jay may be hurt. I don't know if that means, but did you guys think, Bill, that Sami Zayn had a shot that he might turn on Jay Uso Monday night?
I don't know if he's going to turn him on. I don't know if he's that kind of guy. He might turn against him. I hate when people say that. It's turn against, not turn him on.
Well, there you go. There you go.
But no, my answer to that is I hope not, because I don't know if Sami Zayn is on the level of being a contender right away with Jay Uso right out of the box. I don't think that really in the fans' minds has a main event ring to it at this point.
Okay. Joe,
what do you guys think?
Yeah, Joe, again, I'm only basing it off of how it was in the arena. I don't know how they shot it. So in the arena, it didn't feel like Sami was going to turn on him.
Right.
Again, I don't know how the TV presentation was, but I guess if some people felt that way, then they did a good job at presenting it. So.
But do you want to see that?
I was watching at home. And it definitely was shot in a way that had all the makings for a heel turn happening. Yep. But they didn't pull the trigger, obviously, and I think that's a little foreshadowing for this story down the line. And ultimately, I think Jay trusts too much in Sami, and Sami finally capitalizes in trying to go for gold at some point in his career. I mean,
but do you want to
Sami
see that?
Has his eyes on that.
Do you want to see that? Does that have the echoes of a, compelling match for the championship?
I think given their bloodline history, it will. I think they're going to call back to a lot of the times that Jay was there for Sami throughout the entire Sami Uso story. And finally, Sami's going to want to have that gold in his possession. And I think he's going to turn on Jay eventually. When and where, yet to be seen.
Yeah. You never know. Long-term storytelling. We're going to see it. So I'm sure.
But that's great. That's great that they do long-term storytelling. It's great.
Let me see. A good friend, Nassim Bahar's chiming in. He wants to know everyone's opinion on this year's WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Was it too long? He thinks it was too long. And did any of you guys go to the ceremony by any chance?
I was there.
Okay. I'll start with you. How did you feel when?
I thought years ago they had, when they were doing it again on a stage,
right,
that they were going to limit them to about 15 minutes each. It's not going to be another Mr. T marathon there.
Paul Heyman.
As classy as Triple H's speech was, it was very long.
Yeah.
And he got my surprise. I think to the surprise of everyone. And I got a lot of flack on the internet on this, but I also got a lot of thumbs up, is that he said he can't skirt the issue anymore and wanted to thank his father-in-law for everything he did, because if it wasn't for his father-in-law, none of us would be doing what we're doing today. And he's right. He's absolutely right about that. You have to separate the two McMahons here.
Yeah.
The Vince, personally, it's the wrong Vince. The Vince business Vince, that made this business what the business is today, along with Hulk Hogan. I always say that.
Yeah.
That Vince is the guy that created. I'm glad he said it. I'm glad he thanked it, because a lot of his career would not be what his career is without McMahon.
Right. Joe TC, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was also there. Sentiments with Bill. I think it was too long. However, I think it was really good. I enjoyed myself, although I was wishing it were to be ending soon. So, maybe they need to reshuffle it again next year, but back in the theater made a world of difference. Yeah. I enjoyed myself.
What did you think about him talking about his father-in-law?
I thought it was necessary, and I'm glad he did it.
Right, right.
Looking around me, you can see a couple of people who were a little stunned by that. Eyes opened wide when Vince's name came out. But how could he have a Hall of Fame speech without talking about Vince McMahon? It was impossible to do, and I think he did a good job at doing so.
It still bugs me, by the way, that none of them, except three guys, Bill Mascaris, Jerry Lawler, and I forgot who the other guy was. These are old-timers that before the internet, it was the magazines, not me personally. It was the magazines that had them known all over the world, and they thank everybody, including the janitor in the building, but they do not thank the pro wrestling magazines. That bugs the hell out of me.
That bugs me too. That does bug me. TC, were you gonna chime in there?
No, I was just gonna say I feel like it's a tough situation when talking about Vince, because if you're gonna stick up for the guy, obviously you're gonna have detractors saying that obviously he has all these allegations against him. How could you say nice things about the person? But you know, when you have a relationship with somebody and you really care about them, and obviously for Vince and Triple H, they're family now, it goes one step even further. I just feel like it's a tough position to really say nice things about Vince at this point in time without hearing critics kind of, you know, talk bad about how you view somebody who you know in your real personal life. And I'm glad that Triple H went there. I thought it, like Joey Vote said here, it was needed. And I'm glad he did address it. I just know that no matter what you do, it's kind of a lose-lose situation when you talk about Vince these days and age.
But he addressed it on the business end. He didn't bring up the personal end. He didn't say, my father-in-law.
Oh, he did. No, he did. I saw
he? I don't remember that.
Speech. I saw a clip of it today because I'm playing catch-up, too, from moving and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Triple H was probably the only guy who could pull this off because he does have that. He gave the personal side of Vince McMahon. He's like, he's my father-in-law.
Right.
He's my
I
wife's
do
father.
remember that.
He's the grandfather to my children. That's a different light. I'm not excusing these allegations whatsoever. It's a sensitive issue, but if anybody was going to mention Vince McMahon, why not let it be his son-in-law who's actually running the company that Vince McMahon ran for so many years? So he's the guy that was probably allowed or gracious enough to say it. Because I think if somebody else got up there and started talking Vince, it probably wouldn't have went over good. Now, don't get me wrong. When Triple H was talking about Vince, you could hear a pin drop in that place.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't know how to react. And I think people still don't know how to react.
Yeah, people were like, I can't believe he's going here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, but he looked emotional. It's late at night again. I mean, I don't know what time it was on the East Coast when this thing was kicking off. You post SmackDown, you're getting ready for the big day on Saturday. That's a lot. And for him to break down and do that, you know, kudos to him. He is a family member. It is.
He would have been knocked. He would have been knocked had he not mentioned Vince McMahon.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm still having a hard time with the fact that every time WrestleMania comes around, we don't see Vince McMahon because it was Vince McMahon who's brought us WrestleMania. So it's weird to me that he's not around here in that aspect anymore. But you know,
I thought it would have been funny to see Vince sitting in the crowd at WrestleMania like we saw him at the Super Bowl. That would have been a real pop for me.
You know who to be sitting next to? Brock Lesnar. You know, that'd be great.
Right. And John Laurinaitis.
Oh, God.
Yes.
All right. We got more questions in here. Matt McMillan's coming in again. He goes, what do you guys make of the night and day difference creatively between the ending of WrestleMania 41 Night 2 and the Raw after WrestleMania? Is it because The Rock's involvement in the Night 2 main event? ? People have universally panned the Night 2 main event as one of the worst endings to a WrestleMania, but have universally praised Raw after WrestleMania as the best Raw after WrestleMania of all time. I don't know where he's going with this. I think he's trying to compare apples to oranges because the Raw after Mania is one thing, and whatever night of Mania was the best. What did you guys think overall creatively of the weekend? We'll just jumble it all up into one there. Joe, you hit this one first.
Yeah, you know, I've heard the speculation and the reviews online that the ending of WrestleMania night number 2 was one of the worst in WrestleMania history, and I agree. So if you're comparing what happened Sunday night to what happened Monday Night Raw was a great show. So our reader or our viewer is correct in saying that they were totally different and one was a lot better than the other.
Sure. TC?
Yeah, you know, I feel like Monday night was really important for WWE and Triple H specifically to kind of get things right and change the narrative of where it was 24 hours earlier. I thought they did a great job of that. And, you know, when you give somebody like Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman a new partner in Braun Breaker that nobody saw coming, it really gets your attention off of what happened the night before and focusing on what could be down the road. So I thought they did exactly what they had to do at the end of Raw on Monday.
Excellent. Bill, what'd you think?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, your turn, Bill.
I'm sorry, my phone drifted here. I'm gonna just say a general statement involving both nights and Raw.
Okay.
And they've pretty much said this. This is a variety show. When you watch a variety show for a few hours, every act is not going to be what you think it should be or what you want it to be. It's a potpourri. So none of this is perfect. They did the best they could. They ran some good angles on Monday Night Raw. It kind of surprised me though with the Paul Heyman hitting everybody in the crotch, and then the next night John Cena to do the same thing with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
that was a pretty crotchety weekend, and so to say. But yeah, no, I was just going back to this. Again, you're not going to like everything. And when I was growing up watching wrestling, when it wasn't sports entertainment, I'd go to the matches, watch them on TV. I didn't like everything they did.
Right. Okay. Good stuff. All right. AJ's chiming in here. What are the WWE's long-term plans with the Judgment Day? We just talked about this. Shirley Finn has to go solo soon. It's been almost 6 months since the rumor of Finn's singles push. He hasn't been anywhere besides losing everything and repeating the same stories. I understand long-term booking when it makes sense, but feels like we're in a repeated cycle that's being drawn out too long. Let's put it out there. When is Finn going to leave the Judgment Day or get kicked out of the Judgment Day? Let's put it like that real quick. Timeline. TC, I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, I think you got to build a little bit more from where we are right now.
Okay.
So looking ahead, I would say maybe Night of Champions, Saudi Arabia. That might be a good angle where you finally have Finn turn on Dom, and that will set up a program over the summer, probably leading up to SummerSlam, in my opinion.
Okay.
Turn against Dom. I got to get this mentality right.
Turn against Dom. My
Right.
apologies.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
That's right.
Joe, you agree with that, Joe?
I do. I think it's Finn and Dom for the foreseeable future. Finn's going to have enough one day, snap, and that's off to the races in a singles program with them too. So yeah, I agree with TC.
Bill?
Yeah, same thing. They're going to do it slowly, where it's going to be a very slow and end up in a real explosion that people are going to go like, I knew it was going to happen, and that's going to start it. Yeah, it's going to be exciting, I think.
All right. This one comes from Yeet, Trumpomania. This is for WrestleVotes. What did you think of all the Mariah May news coming out?
It's a great question, and I hate to push the answer off, but WrestleVotes Radio is going to have some details there.
Ooh, okay. No teasers? Too early for that, right?
I spoke to a couple people out in Vegas, and the rumors are spot on. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And Bill, you got a little chime here. He watched your interview with John Cena Sr. He thought he was extremely rude to you, and he was acting like he was a member of the AEW Amateur Hour, PR marks of professional wrestling, and he wishes nothing but the best for you, and kudos for you for remaining professional during that interview.
Well, thank you. And I have not talked to him since that time. I was on Unscripted with him as a guest, and he was pretty nasty to me. You know, I liked my friendship with the guy for a long time, but he's done what his son has done. He's saying the true John Cena Sr. has finally come out.
There you go. Nassim is chiming in again. We kind of touched upon this. Now that WWE has purchased AAA, do you think they'll work with Alberto Del Rio again? Joe, what do you think? You think they'll keep Alberto Del Rio?
No, I don't think anytime soon.
I don't either.
You know, it's just one of those things.
Bill, what do you think?
No, I don't. There's a lot of negative baggage on both sides there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're flying through them now. Todd J, a.k.a. the Jake Man, chiming in. He goes, I think from based on the question, it looks like why wasn't Cody on Raw the other night? Where is Cody? Shocking he wasn't on last night. I'm assuming about Raw. Where was Cody Monday?
He wasn't advertised to begin with, so he wasn't there.
Yeah, he was probably with his family in Las Vegas. And what's happening is that people are asking questions. Where was Cody? So that's a storyline in its own.
Okay.
I got a little scoop for you guys to know exactly where Cody was earlier this week. And this is a shoot. He was at Hollywood Studios in Florida with his family at the theme parks, traveling and going on rides and taking it all in as a father to his daughter. And I happen to have somebody down there that ran up and got a selfie with him. So I know exactly for a fact that he was with his family enjoying some well-deserved time off.
I thought they were going to be at Bagel Mania with us.
Hey, Bill, how about that, huh?
Yeah. Great baby.
This one's been going around soon. What do you guys think? Does Becky Lynch, aka the man, become a Paul Heyman girl and be part of the whole thing with Seth and Braun? What do you think of that, Bill? Would you like to see Becky Lynch?
I love it. What a great idea. I love it.
That'd be kind of neat. Joe, TC, you on board with that?
I don't see why not. I mean, draw back to the days of the Dangerous Alliance in WCW. There was a female presence, and it worked. So try it again this year.
Yeah, and they get a babysitter. You know, Paul Heyman can always watch the kid too.
Yeah.
The one thing I think for me, when you add a female to a group like this, we've seen it with Judgment Day and obviously the Wyatt Six. Who do they feud with? They need someone. They need a counterpart to dance with. And if you don't have another faction with a female involved, it becomes very difficult to get them, involved in the mix. You kind of see this with the Death Riders in AEW, where Marina Shafir is kind of the odd man out or odd woman out when everything's going down. They're just standing there. So for me, I would keep the females away from this faction just due to the fact that I know WWE is still in the mindset of not having the intergender action happening on screen.
Yeah, but if they did do that, that's a perfect spot for Bayley to be the adversary.
That's true there, Bill.
All right. Todd's got one more question, and that'll wrap things up. What do you guys think was the biggest surprise of this past Monday night's Raw? Bill, any surprises on your end about Raw?
I watched it on someone's cell phone at the airport.
Sounds like me with WrestleMania.
So the surprise is I couldn't see some of it. So, no, not really, because again, I didn't study Raw this week.
Okay. Joe, TC, any surprises come your way from Raw?
Yeah, I would say the end. I don't think many people saw the pairing coming with Breakker and Rollins, led by Heyman. So, although it wasn't a return of any sorts, that was surprising at the end that this faction now exists.
I thought Raw did a good job of giving us a few surprises. Obviously,
I forgot. Miro coming back. Yes, that was the surprise.
JD McDonough,
Rusev. Obviously, the changing of titles from the night before with Lyra and Becky, and I had Randy Orton under the ring to start the whole thing off with John Cena there, and obviously the end with Braun Breaker. So they did a good job of surprises. Just when you think they're going to zig, WWE is zagging, and I think that's exactly what they needed to do. The doctor ordered that Raw following the outpour of criticism coming out of WrestleMania.
Rusev was so big, he could barely be contained in this fan's cell phone there.
We're also forgetting the biggest shock of Gunther's attack on Michael Cole and Pat McAfee.
Yes, I saw that too. I hope this isn't going to lead to us seeing Michael Cole coming back into the ring.
I don't know. I got money on Gunther versus McAfee in a street fight at Backlash.
Maybe
something like that. But and the other thing that I'm a little dumbfounded is why did Becky and Lyra beat Liv and Raquel the night before, only to lose it 24 hours later, and they didn't even take the nameplates off their titles. There was a picture circulating yesterday that when the referee held up the titles, they already knew Liv and Raquel were going to win because their plates were still on their tag team belts.
I can tell you why they did that, because they wanted Lyra to be Lyra 2 belts. So you have Becky.
24 hours?
Why not? She still had 2 belts. So you have Becky talking about her days as 2 belts, and you have young Lyra now with, well, I had 2 belts too, so what are you going to do about it?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That long-term storytelling again. All right, guys, we blazed through those questions. Not bad. We had a little hiccup at the beginning there. Bill Apter's house exploded and came back to life. So that's all fine and dandy there. So yeah, that's going to do it for all us here. I want to thank everybody for joining us for tonight's Q&A presented by Sportskeeda Wrestling and shown exclusively right here on Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. Hey, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. While you're at it, slam that like button. That way we get those metrics up and all that good stuff. And that way you can gain access to exclusive news and information. That way you stay up to date with the latest happenings in the world of pro wrestling. And let Sportskeeda be your first stop for catching up with all the WrestleMania Fallout news that's taking place. Before I even say goodbye, Joe, TC, do we have any teasers for WrestleVotes Radio?
Yeah, we're recording right away after this. We're going to do the Mariah May stuff. We're going to do a little McAfee Gunther there where you were alluding to there.
Ooh, okay.
And maybe some information on what else you want to tease? Backlash. How about that there?
Backlash.
Well,
By the
Backlash.
way,
and I
I talked
got a lot to say too myself. I'm ready to lock and load for WrestleVotes Radio. It's been delayed. I've been waiting all day.
I know it's
To
delayed.
get on the
yeah.
air and
By the
let
way,
the people hear what I have to say. You know.
I talked to Mariah May at WrestleCon.
Okay.
And I want to thank all the fans that came over to me at WrestleCon. I was totally flattered. But I have interviewed her before. She didn't want to do it, and I found her actually very snobby this time. The few times I've interviewed her before and after the interview, she was always sweet. She was pretty snobby. And I said, I don't know why. Mariah, if you're watching this, what's up, girl?
What's up? What's up, Mariah? What's up? All right. All right, that's going to do it. Hey, TC, it's a pleasure having you on tonight.
It was an honor to be alongside the greats of What a Day, Joe Lowry and Bill Apter. Nothing but my utmost respect. So, Bill, I'm glad to see that everything's okay at Chateau Apter, and hopefully one day down the road I'll be able to do this again with you guys.
I have one thing to say to you.
Uh-oh.
The check is in the mail.
The check is in the mail.
I'll be.
All right, that's going to do us for all of
every
us
day.
here at Q&A. I'm Joe Lowry. Bill, Joe, TC, take us home.
We'll see you
At the
Come on.
matches.
Yeah, love it.
Take
That's
care.
a wrap. All right. Travis Scott. That's